Good morning, fellow readers. I'm your host for today, Steve. This is the House of Nerd Show. I'm joined by my cohorts. We've got the lovely Lauren over here.
What up? I'm over here.
And then we've got the Silver Tongue Studio over here. I'm all messed up.
Going on, guys? How you doing?
And
I'm hyped.
I'm hyped. Welcome to episode 2. A lot to talk about for today's show. Let's go through the rundown. We've got our This Week in Review. We've got our second segment, which Lauren has done up a nice little Who Drew It segment. After that, we're going to go to our big comic book discussion, talking about comic book events and how we feel about them, pros and cons of that sorts. Then we're going to, go on over to Toronto Comic Book Club, see what they discussed for this week's discussion and what's to come for next weekend. Ending it off with our copper drop about the many deaths of Laila Starr. Chat, if you've got some skull and bone emojis, ring those out right now, because we're going to be talking about Laila Starr and then many deaths she may or may not have had.
Yep.
And then at the end, guys, if you stay for the end of the show, we're going to do a giveaway, right, Sergio?
Oh yeah. We got these bad boys up for grabs, all right? So stick around. You're gonna want to find out if you guys hit the jackpot. Excited for that, for you loyal peeps. Love it.
Yeah, and if you're already part of it once through the Twitter or through the YouTube, if you're watching live right now, you're also added, another ticket, another entry into that giveaway, right, Sergio?
Comment in the chats, and I'm gonna add a bonus entry for you guys. So yeah, chat away, man.
Yeah, Steven Hayner, you've got the right idea. Let's get the chat full of the Death Skull, maybe some crossbones, because Laila Starr is coming up later on in the episode. Let's kick things off with This Week in Review, though. Lauren, what did you read this week?
Okay, sorry. Very loud, starting people with headphones. So, this week we had, of course, some great books. I read quite a few things. Are they over here? I mean, I picked up Radiant Black, pretty good as it has been. Lady Baltimore, Dark Horse, Justice League, I Walk with Monsters, Champions, and Captain Marvel. Gotta get all those. But my top 3 of the week that I really want to talk about, even though these were also good. First up, I've got I had to do it. I know it's our copper dropped, but damn, it was a great choice. Laila Starr, let me tell you, it was pretty darn solid. We'll talk more about it in copper drop, but I really just had to point out how good it was. Ram V just keeps impressing, keeps coming up with new and original ideas. I mean, he can write characters we've known for 80 plus years and the big names, and he can write great news stories that are completely original. So had to be my top 3 pick. After that, I've got me another pick that nobody should be surprised by. Mr. Nightwing. Let me tell you, number 1, this color matches my hat. I had to get the variant. It's so pretty. This is just so much fun. It was hard to pick pictures for this one because so much of what makes the art, I mean, the art's great by itself. Don't get me wrong. Bruno Redondo does a great job. But the text and the art really complement each other for this book. But man, it's just so much fun. It's nice to see Nightwing being taken seriously as a character rather than just a sidekick, which he hasn't been for years and years, Dick Grayson. And oh man, let me tell you, I just love me Dick Grayson. Who doesn't? I mean, come on. I saw somebody comment, somebody make an article. Oh, look at this man. Just look at him. I talk about women all the time, but look at this man. Like,
the peak of perfection.
I'm useless. Facts. So
it's our boy Dick.
Yeah. Yep. And you can't go wrong. Tom Taylor's drawing is great. Bruno Redondo's art is fantastic. Inking is great. It's a great start. I'm excited to see where it goes with the new villain, all that good stuff. And then the one no one should be surprised by.
Not at all.
My top pick, drum roll please, has got to be Way of X. Yep. Shut up, Skylar. I see Skylar in the chat. Skylar's my sibling calling me Yow. Way of X. Yep. I got all the covers. I mean, how could I not? It's a problem.
You're obligated to at that point, right? Like if you didn't get a certain cover, like you would have been called out, right? Your Nightcrawler card.
I would be.
Away.
People would challenge me. They'd be like, "Are you a real fan of Nightcrawler?" Excuse me.
Gotta get them all.
But right, Pokemon, but it's all Nightcrawler. I would play it then. But seriously, it was a solid first issue. It's not exactly where I think it's going to go yet in terms of it's not at its peak, but it's a great start to where it's going to go in terms of plot. Very hard to pick pictures for this one to show because it's so text heavy and it'll give away so much of the plot.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
Would you say, Lauren, I found myself when I read issue 1, I was so glad to have read at least House and Powers and at least some of the preceding X-Men stuff, because I feel like if you wanted to get into Way of X, you might have a little bit of a harder time with dealing with stuff like the Crucible. There are a bunch of stuff mentioned about that society that I feel you need a basis on, right?
So you're talking to somebody who actually has not fully read House of X and Powers of X and hasn't read every single X-Men book. And to that, I actually say, at first it was a bit confusing because I didn't completely understand it. But as the issue goes on, they actually did explain the Crucible and stuff. Like they explain what it is. They go in. So I think it is a point where you can start into it. And I think it's actually a good starting point because they do put sorry, I'm having a poor choice of my words here. They are very good at dumbing it down, for lack of a way of saying it, for us. Like they go into the big bulk of it so that somebody like you, Steve, who's read it all, can be like, oh, they're expanding on this. Yes, I know what they're talking about. But even people like me that haven't read every single thing leading up to this can still catch up and go, okay, this is cool. I really like that they're really examining what Krakoa is as a culture, what it is, what it means, what it represents, what all these different things happening are, and how conflicting it is. I'm a person that loves it when people examine the gray areas in society, not good versus evil, not black or white. I like that it's from a standpoint of, hey, there's not a lot of direct answers. This is very hard to go through and it's hard to figure out. And it's really cool that Nightcrawler gets to be one to explore it because, as they say in the issue, he is one of the kind ones. Actually, in that panel, he is one of the kind ones. He is different than many other people. Not that other people are all bad or anything, but there's something very special about Kurt, and I appreciate them noting that. So, yeah, Way of X, I definitely picked it up because I am a Nightcrawler whore, but it is worth reading even if you're not the biggest Nightcrawler fan. So it's definitely going to be incredibly important for the, basically new X-Men franchise as it is.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So no surprise here. Lauren's top pick is Way of X, which stars Nightcrawler.
And little known fact. Hold on. I just wanted to say, one of my all-time favorite comic book movie scenes is X2, Nightcrawler's introduction.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that, man. It's still to this day, it holds up so well. It's such a crazy, that whole White House scene.
It does. And Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, honest to God, and I know this is a bit off topic, but since you brought it up, those X-Men movies, the trilogy, not talking about the third one because that never happened, right? But the cast of those movies was phenomenal. All the actors that were cast as those X-Men pretty much fit them perfectly, including and especially Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler. Absolutely great.
Perfect casting for sure. I agree with you there on that. Yep.
Yep. And that's
little Nightcrawler info there.
Yes.
So Sergio,
buddy.
What was your week like?
Light week for me, man. Really light. I only had a handful of pulls this week, so I'm just gonna get right into it. My top three in no particular order, but I will start off with this gorgeous foil by David Mack for the Many Deaths of Leila Starr. Love this book. We're gonna get into it later on for Copper Drop. Can't say enough good things about that. Geiger. So this came out a couple weeks ago, but this particular cover dropped this week. It's the glow in the dark variant, which I think my copy might be broken because it doesn't glow in the dark. It doesn't look anything like that. Yeah. So I tested it out a couple times. So I'm gonna throw a complaint.
You're gonna need that refund real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a refund. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't glow in the dark for me. So Geiger number 1, man. This was very, very cool.
What's it about? I've never even heard of that one.
So it's about, I guess, a post-apocalyptic story. Some kind of nuclear war happens, and yeah, look at that! Look at that Gary Frank art, man. It's fantastic. Um, so it's post-apocalyptic. Excuse me. This guy gains like powers because he was, I guess, close to a nuclear explosion. I guess that's not too spoiler. It came out a couple weeks ago. In any case, so I mean, I won't go into too many details, but it's set in Nevada. It's set in Las Vegas. It was a fairly quick first issue.
Who is that? What is that thing? Like, what's going on with that?
Is that,
That is
is that
would
Geiger?
That would be Geiger. Yeah. So I guess
Okay.
Geiger.
What is
you
he?
know, radiation, right? How do they measure radiation? Geiger meter, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess that's where they got the name from, right?
Oh.
And this art,
Okay.
man. So the story itself, the first issue wasn't too long, but it took me probably a good half an hour just to get through this issue because I was stuck on these pages. I don't know if anybody else. Yeah, the artwork is dope, man. Is by an artist of Gary Frank, man, and he is one of my all-time goats, one of the greatest of all time for me.
So he also drew Doomsday Clock.
Yes,
Right? Yeah.
he drew Doomsday Clock. He's done. I mean, his resume is like endless, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised. I got it because I'm a fan of the artist. I'm a fan of Jeff John's work. So I had to check it out. I was very curious, and I was not disappointed. It sets up some interesting things there at the end of the story. And I've never heard of Scorpion. I'm not familiar with that comic.
Mortal Kombat character.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay. It does
So,
kind of
you know.
remind me of Scorpion a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it sets up some interesting stuff, man. I would recommend it to anybody who's a fan of either Frank or John's, man. Yeah. Definitely cop it, man. Check it out. I mean, you can see there, gorgeous, man. Interesting stuff.
All right. What do you have after that?
Yeah, You Promised Me Darkness. That's my next book. For
You
this
have
week's
been
review.
hyping this up, and I've been hearing about it. What is this
Mhm.
about? Because like it's been the talk of the shop.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's probably this week's hottest book. So it's written by a gentleman written and illustrated by Damien Connolly, excuse me. And I believe initially it was written in the Spanish language. I could be mistaken. I do know it was translated though. So for me, again, I don't know. I'm a sucker for art. Really tends to make or break a book for me. And the art in this book, I'd say, is the soul of the book. Yes, the narration is a little crazy, bud. Sometimes I was getting confused with who the narrator was. But then on read through was pretty straightforward. So the
So,
premise.
You said the narration could be confusing when we talked about it. You said it could be confusing because it's translated, right? It's translated from Spanish to English.
Exactly. So I
Okay.
think maybe some of that confusion comes. Something was lost in the translation
Right.
of the dialogue of the story. I'm not entirely sure, but I was digging this, man. I was really feeling this story. It's heavy, lots of world building in this. Surprisingly, Damien Collin fit a lot into one issue, introduced a whole whack load of characters. I mean, you've got a talking Doberman in there. You got some other crazy stuff. It's cool, man. I'm digging it. What can I say about the story without spoiling too much? I think what they released already, what's known is Halley's Comet, which I think comes around every like 75 years or 80 years or 90 years, whatever it is. So it flies by Earth. People get powers, strange, crazy powers. They're mutated. And there's
I read a review on it. I read a advanced review of it. And they, like, I didn't read the book, but somebody else did, and they really talked about the world building was huge in this book.
Crazy.
Yeah,
It's surprising.
that's
How much he's
me
able
on
to
wanting to.
introduce. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said that's what was selling me on being interested in picking this up, because to be honest, black and white art is hard for me, especially when it's so heavily inked like it looks on here. It's not that it's bad. It's not that I dislike it. It's just hard for me to really get into. But if it has that great world building, that might make up for it, if that makes sense, because it's not bad art. It's just hard for me to get into. So the world building might make it more easier for it to reach me, if that makes sense. So you definitely got my interest on it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I can kind of take away and give to the people who are kind of on the fence about checking out this book is lots of world building, rich in like detail and story. So like I'm really looking forward to issue 2 and picking up the rest of the run here. I think it might only be a 4 or 5 issue mini. Right. Don't skip out on this book if you guys have the chance to pick up this one. I definitely get 2 thumbs up. I'd give up more if I could.
So this was your top pick, right?
I don't. Okay, my top pick would be Leila Starr, but I didn't want to get into it until later. But this is right there. Geiger, You Promised Me Darkness, Leila Starr, all right there for top pick pretty much. But I'll give the slight edge to Leila Starr. Yeah.
All right. Nice. Well, as for myself, I've got quite a few. Let's just go through. For the Nightwing, like I mentioned last week, I'm still going through the back catalog of the Rebirth stuff. So I think I finished, trade volume 4 and 5 and 6 and a few more. I haven't reached the bullet part yet, but I'm getting there. And then I've also read X-Force, this week's X-Force that came out, and it was okay. Not too much to say on that. It's more about Quentin Quire, and I don't really care much about him as a character. So, Amazing Spider-Man. Again, I don't think the current arc that Nick Spencer is doing is that interesting, but I think he has ebb and flows when it comes to the story. So I'm really looking forward to what he sets up for Sinister War in June or July.
Event coming up. Got it.
Yeah, let's kick it off. Way of X, like Lauren. This was it was kind of an honorable mention in terms of my top picks because it was
honorable mention. Steve, me. At least you mentioned it though, Sergio. Catch up.
I did really enjoy it. I felt like there was a lot of pages. I feel like there was a lot of dialogue with this. I am really intrigued to see the moral dilemma that Nightcrawler has with this book, especially with the identity of people being able to be resurrected, and then there's the whole thing about teenagers are now treating it like it's not a big deal. Like, oh, it's their first time. Yeah. They haven't died yet. Oh, they're just like an innocent virgin. They're a virgin who hasn't died yet. And then it's like this big youth culture of like, you've got to kill yourself for the first time in like a special way. You have to make it meaningful. It's really weird in regards to like the moral dilemma of death. And I think Nightcrawler is the perfect character for this. Nice. Going from that, Laila Starr was definitely in my top 3. I think for me it was 3rd. I really, really enjoyed it, but we're going to talk about that later today. For Comic Book Club, we ended up reading Die Volume 3, and Die Volume 3 honestly is my second favorite thing that I read this week. It is so good. If you guys have not given Die a chance yet, pick up Volume 1.
So what's Die about?
Okay, so it's in 1991. These 6 teenagers, they're around 16 or 17, they end up playing this role-playing game together. Think Dungeons and Dragons, except they actually get pulled into that fantasy world, and they get trapped there for a few years as those characters that they're playing. And then they end up getting sent back home. Cut to 20 or 30 years later, or whatever it is, cut to like 2018. They're now adults. Some of them are divorced. Their parents, they get pulled back in. And now they're those same characters again with, all the shit that they've gone through back in 1991 as adolescents. And now they're also adults going through it again.
So kind of like a like the new Jumanji movie type thing. You get pulled back into the game. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of Jumanji meets D&D.
Okay.
it's really great because it kind of deals with certain concepts of like one of the characters is male, but the character that one of the players is male. The character that he played was Ash, a female. So when he was a teenager, for a couple years trapped in the game, he was actually stuck as a female character, and having to deal with things like that, like what's it like to be mentally trapped in a body that isn't your own and a sex that isn't your own, and like there's so many different avenues of like character dissection that Dai takes. Honestly, recommend picking up Volume 1. It is one of my favorite indie Volume 1s I've ever read. It's so good.
What
Kieran
up,
Gillen,
Chris? He missed Nightcrawler Shop. Damn it, Chris.
Kieran Gillen's the writer, Stephanie Hahn's the artist. I just want to go through some of their artwork here because it's phenomenal. This book uses pretty much every color you can think of in multiple different ways. The reds, the pinks, the neons. It's perfect. It's so good. Check out Die. There's only going to be a total of 20 issues. Volume 3 was released, and there's only going to be 4 volumes total. So if you want a series, you could wait till Volume 4 comes out, and you can read all 20 issues and be done with the whole series at large. But my top pick, Nightwing, for this week.
Good choice.
I didn't end up getting my second print for Nightwing 78 yet, so I really went into this one knowing like nothing. Tom Taylor knocks it out of the park. Like, it feels like a Nightwing book. It feels like Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon, and they feel like they have like this close connection that they've always had. The writing is what Lauren said. It's phenomenal. It really does feel like Dick Grayson is his own character again.
Steve, you killed me when you said it feels like Dick Grayson, because my first thought was, damn, I wonder what Dick Grayson feels like.
That's what Dick feels like. That's my top pick, Nightwing.
So, Steve, you went into this issue. You didn't even read the first.
I didn't.
78.
Yeah, I didn't read.
Man.
And I didn't even. Honestly, I didn't really need to. Like, this book kind of it really helps guide someone who's a new reader for Nightwing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice. Okay. I don't know that I could do that, man. I'm very like I gotta read them in order.
It's best to read them in order, but I gotta say there's something specific about Tom Taylor's writing that in many parts there and in many of his stories, you can just jump right in and you'll enjoy it even if you don't understand it. So it'll make you want to restart the whole thing. Because I did that a little bit with X-Men Red. When I read that line, I did a little bit with All New Wolverine. And then I read like a mid-issue or a part of it, and I was like, this sounds good, but I don't completely understand it. I need to start from the beginning. And then I completely understood it and enjoyed it more. But I still enjoyed the little bit I did catch on to. So
sure.
he's just so talented with his writing and in particular characters. I mean, he was a perfect choice to write Nightwing and Dick Grayson after what they did to him before this. Like, we needed his character back. So.
And speaking of Tom Taylor, they announced he's going to be doing the new Superman.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Jonathan Kent's Superman.
I'm like super excited for that, but I'm not sure. So is that going to be the main Superman title now?
Yes.
It's replacing it.
But there will
Jonathan Kent is going to be the
Superman.
main. Wow.
Yes, Clark Kent isn't reading the book.
But then there's also going to be Action Comics. Action Comics is still being there, but the main Superman book will be, Superman,
right,
son of Kal-El.
Yeah, son of Kal-El.
Again, after 80 years of Superman leading his own book, basically, and stuff, it's about time his kid got to be Superman. I mean, honestly, this is a whole other discussion, but I can make the same argument for Batman. It's time someone else takes it on and takes the Batman role while Bruce Wayne does other stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But that's a whole other discussion.
That's like a big time move, man. For sure, right? DC's. I'm a big fan of what DC's doing right now, what they're announcing with their books and stuff. So I'm excited for that. I mean, I think Chris Taylor is the perfect writer for Superman. So I dropped the Superman books about halfway through Bendis's run. I haven't been reading any of the Soup stuff lately, but definitely gonna jump on once Taylor's run starts. And I am gonna pick up Nightwing as well because hearing nothing but good things, and I'm digging that art, man. I'm digging that art. So
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Cool.
my top 3 for this week would be Laila, Starr, Die Volume 3, and Nightwing as my final top pick.
Laila Starr's a hit.
Laila Starr is really great. We'll get into that a little bit later, though.
Yes.
That's it for this week in review. Let us know in the chat and on Twitter what your week in review was like. What are your top picks? Do you agree or disagree with some of our choices? That being said, Lauren, you've got something planned for us.
Well, before that, wanted to mention the whole you see in the bar down there.
Oh, right.
Final order cutoff date. So it's the last FSC final order cutoff. It's the last day you can order a comic from your shop. Basically, it's the last day they can place orders. We read Home last week and loved it. Home number 2 comes out May 19th, but the final order cutoff for it is tomorrow, this Monday. It's the last day your local shops can order it. So if you want to get it, which I highly recommend, Sergio and I have both gotten advanced copies of it, courtesy of Julio himself, the writer. He's an absolute delight. He knocks it out of the ballpark again with this. Order it from your shops. Order it. Order it by tomorrow so that you can make sure you get your copy, because it is so worth reading. I mean, it continues to knock it out of the park.
You know, I'm gonna continue to champion this book. We love it here on the House of Nerd Show, and it's more the same great stuff that you guys loved from issue number 1. You're gonna get in issue number 2 and then some. So make sure you guys go out and support these quality titles, man. You know, Julio Anta and the squad over there, they're putting out this great book. Final order cutoff tomorrow. Get it in with your shops. Great stuff.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you for that reminder, Lauren.
I got you.
That's how easy it is to forget about these FOCs. That's how easy it is to forget about what's coming up next week. Pick up Home number 2 if you really enjoyed Home number 1.
We're definitely going to get into a more detailed discussion of Home number 2
when it comes out.
The week of release for you guys, for sure. We have a lot to share about that. We just wanted to give you guys that reminder there.
Yeah. That being said, now Lauren, now you actually have something.
I do. So we talked about, oh man, you know, what are we going to do? And we really want to do something fun with you guys, just to kind of, you know, lighten it up a bit. And not that it wasn't light, but it's just something really fun. And so we have a segment called Who Drew It? This is a segment where I made it, so Sergio and Steve have no idea what to expect other than the basic concept of it, which is I'm going to show you guys pictures from comics, comic book covers, comic book images, whatever. And you have to guess the artist. You're going to have 3 multiple choice options because there's a million artists out there.
Right.
So we figured I won't make it too hard. But I picked some images, and basically I'm going to show them to you guys and Sergio and Steve. Again, Sergio and Steve have no idea what these images are. Literally nothing. I've gone to have fun with it. And we're just going to see, you know, who drew it and who knows comic book artists pretty well and all that.
Yeah. Let us know in the chat if you know who actually drew some of these panels and artwork.
Definitely. If you guys know the answers,
because I want to see who can beat Sergio and Steve at this.
we got some comic connoisseurs in the chat, so I know they're gonna be quick with the answers. But if you got them, drop them, man.
All right. You know? So our first one, I like to start us off nice and easy. Who in the world drew this?
Oh my God.
Who did it? We've got Peach Momoko, big name right now, right? Everybody wants her covers. We got David Mack, another big name. We got David Cho. That's probably how you say it. There's no L.
Yeah.
So we got some good options there. What do you guys think?
Oh, I know this one. So
I've never heard of any of these artists, so I'm gonna go shot in the dark.
Steve, you need to. Oh my Lord.
Sorry, I'm just shot in the dark. Peach Momoko for me.
Okay.
So, okay, Sergio.
I'm pretty I'm 99% on this. I'm gonna say Mac. His watercolor style is very recognizable. One of my favorite artists. Man, that's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
And it is David Mack. I figured Sergio would know this one. You're a big Mac person.
I love it.
Covers.
Yeah.
Who drew this one? We've got Ivan Reese, we got Brian Hitch, and we got Jason Fabuk. How you say
I will
last name?
say I know two of those artist names. I'll admit that.
I think I
wanna
think
say
I
it's
got this one here.
I want to say it's C. Jason Fabok.
Okay. What about you,
Okay.
Serge?
I'm going with Ivan Rice.
Okay.
Ivan Rice. Yeah.
Alrighty, and you're right again, Serge.
Ah,
There we
Here's
go.
that.
Did anybody in the chats get this one here? We got Dragon
No.
Ranger thought it was
no,
some people are
nobody
saying
got
Fabok
it.
too.
Fabok.
Fabok. Yeah,
Cri-
man. It does look very similar to Fabok's style. Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's close. It's close.
Oh my God! Look who's here. It's Kurt. I wonder how he got there. Who drew him here? Was it Alan Davis, Dave Cockrum, the legend, or was it Mr. Greg Land?
Well, I
Okay.
know it doesn't look like a suggestive photo, so I know it's not Greg Land. I'm gonna go on a limb here. It's not Greg Land. I'm gonna say B. Dave Cockrum for me. Sergio.
Okay.
I am not familiar with any of these artists here, so I'm counting on
Oh,
the support of everyone in the chat. Help me out here, guys. Or am I going
you got
A,
one
B, or
for
C?
Davis.
Davis, Cockrum, Greg Land.
People are thinking
Oh
Davis.
man.
Everybody's saying Davis.
Yep.
So with the help of the fine people in the chats, I'm gonna go with Davis.
Oh man, y'all are killing me because it's Mr. Dave Cockrum, the
Oh,
OG
yes!
who helped
okay.
create Nightcrawler.
I got one.
and him
I got
himself.
one.
2-1.
Yes.
Okay, you guys owe me
All
in the
right.
chat. You gotta get me. You gotta have my back on the next one.
We got
All right.
Mr. Venom here trying to
Ooh.
crush Spidey. Who did it? Was it Mark Bagley, Terry Dodson, or Eric Larson?
So looking at this, I would have thought that this kind of reminds me of like a Todd McFarlane too. I'm surprised his name's not
Little
on
Yeah.
bit there.
there. Oh dang, I don't think it's Mark Bagley, but then again, his art varies so much from different things. I'm gonna say C. Eric Larson. What about you, Sergio?
I am leaning towards Larson as well, and I was trying to like cheat and see.
Yeah,
what
you're trying to
everybody
Google
was
it, weren't
kinda-
you? You're
Yeah,
trying to
well, I
look
was
it up.
trying to see what everybody
Eric
in the chat was
Larson.
saying.
Yes.
I'll save you the trouble. You're right.
Larson, there you go. Not too bad. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So we got an image comic here because you can see the logo on the bottom left. Who did this? Cody
Jeez.
Chamberlain,
Ooh.
Martin Simmons, or Jason Sean Alexander? And this is a creator-owned book. Other than, I mean, it's not creator-owned by Image, but like the creator did it. So whoever
Right.
drew this also wrote it. There's your hint.
I dig this. This one, man, I feel like I should know it, but I'm going back and forth between Simmons and JSA.
I'm going JSA. I was thinking
yeah?
that too. I'm thinking Dragon Ranger is also saying JSA.
You got
JSA?
that? Well, I mean, you got Chris here saying they don't think it's
Oh.
quite Jason.
Yeah.
I'm going C. Jason
You're
Sean
going C?
Alexander.
I'm gonna go, honestly, man, I'm going B. I'm going Simmons.
Okay.
You're both wrong. It's Mr.
Ah.
Cody
Oh.
Chamberlain.
Well, there you go. I like that one because very similar styles, man. You know? It,
Yeah,
it looks like it could be something from
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I thought it was.
All
Right.
right. We got Mr. Daredevil here.
Ooh.
That's dope.
Okay.
That is dope.
We
I
got
dig that.
Francis Manipul, Alex Maleev, and Tim Sale. Who do y'all think?
So
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, I know that's not Manipul. That's not his style.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's not Tim Sale because I
Yeah.
remember reading like Daredevil Yellow, which Tim Sale did with Jeff Loeb, and
Mhm.
Tim Sale's more like angular and boxy kind of.
We've got Dragon
thinking
Ranger
Maleev,
Maleev.
yeah. I'm going with Alex Maleev for me.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
I would. I'm
Y'all are
leaning
right.
heavily towards
Yes.
Maleev.
Mr.
Yeah.
Alex Maleev. Yep.
Guys,
all
guys in
y'all
the chat are on
were
point.
right.
They know their stuff. They know
Yeah.
their
Yep.
stuff.
I feel like I'm slacking.
This one we got who drew it. We've got a Superman comic and an X-Men. We
I
got
know this.
Bill,
I think I know this
Stewart?
one.
Stuart Eminem, or Tim Sale again. Apparently, Tim, why are you always here? So, what do you think, Steve? Since you think you got it,
I think I got it. I think it's B. Stuart Immonen
okay.
because
Yes,
it reminds me a lot of his Spider-Man stuff.
The other Steve agrees with you.
I would say based off of. I'm not familiar with the X-Men stuff, but based off of that Superman drawing, I'm gonna go with B.
B, and y'all are right. It is
Yes.
Stewart.
There you go.
I really do love this stuff. And
Oh my
another
God!
Nightcrawler.
Look what it is again. It's my favorite. Kurt himself. Who
Making a
gives
second
this
appearance.
card?
Okay.
We got Derek Robertson, Mahmoud Asrar. Sorry if I'm butchering names on the way. And Mr. Ed McGuinness. Who is it? It seems incredibly obvious to me, but also, you know.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. This kind of reminds me of like the Amazing X-Men run that happened a few years ago, where he was kind of like a pirate Nightcrawler and he had to get his soul back.
You're on it. So who is it, Steve?
I remember around that time it was Mahmoud Asrar who was doing. I think he did X-Men Gold, but I think that might have been coming after. I don't know. I'm gonna go with B. I'm just gonna go with B.
The chat is right. Y'all know more than Steve. It's Mr. McGuinness. Classic McGuinness here.
I didn't even get a chance to guess, Lauren. What's happening? What's going on? I wanted those bonus points.
All right, I'll focus on your next one. I'm so sorry. You need bonus points. What up, Wednesday poll list, my peeps? What's up? All right. Who drew it? Now this one is really cool. I've never seen this before, and the colors are amazing. We got Becky Cloonan, we got Stefan Sejic, and we've got Jen Bartel. All phenomenal, like absolute favorites of mine. But like,
okay.
All right, I'm gonna let Sergio go first.
I'd say just off of the color palette, Jen seems to kind of use these pink hues and the purple hues quite often. So my guess would be C, Jen Bartel.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's not Stefan Sejic, because I feel like that stuff, I've read some of this stuff like Harleen and things of that nature, and it's very rough, kind of hand drawn. I'm leaning towards Becky Cloonan for me. Okay.
And the answer is Steve got it again.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Becky Cloonan.
I think Steven's pulling ahead of me here. I gotta come back with the right answer.
I don't know if you'll come back with this one. You might after this. We've got who drew it. We've got Storm being 4 here, basically. Is it Jim Lee, Arthur Adams, or John Romita Jr.?
For me, I think that's Romita Jr.
Yeah, that doesn't look like Lee's style at all. Doesn't look like Adams. I'd say that looks like a Romita face right there. JR.
You know, it's funny you say it's not Adams because it is Arthur Adams.
Well then. I'm a hack. I don't know comics. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys.
Hey, you tried. That it's all good. We're learning.
There you go.
All right, you should know this one, Sergio. I feel like. Who drew this one? Gil Kane or Gil? The G sound. Will Eisner or Dave Gibbons?
I know this one.
I have never heard of this story. You guys, is this a popular book? It looks unknown to me. I'm not very familiar.
Lauren. This feels like it should have been the first one.
Should have eased us into it. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here.
Real stab in the dark.
Might be. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the audience and say Gibbons.
I'm also going Gibbons. That's definitely Gibbons.
Yep. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, Sergio, you were feeling a little rough. I had to help you out. You were
I appreciate you throwing me a bone.
I had to help you out.
Absolutely.
Oh my God!
Nightcrawler again!
Boy.
Did you miss him, guys? Yes,
boy.
but really loud. Or should I just take a nap? Probably that one. And who is this artist? We all know who this is. It's
Scotty
Young. That's gotta be Scotty Young for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And y'all, if you like the art you saw today, be sure to obviously check them out, see what else they have done or did. All that cool stuff. It's cool to learn about other people we're not as familiar with.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank
Lauren,
you.
for that.
That was good. You brought some heaters.
That was our segment. Who drew it? And hopefully you were taking the tallies on the chat. Hopefully you maybe you got more right than we did. Let us know. Let us know on Twitter is saying I got all.
I'm actually very, very competitive. So if anyone in the chat was tallying up the answers, let us know who won because I
think Steve did win. I lost count. I was taking it for a bid and
I don't know.
Well, now, Lauren, you didn't throw to me for an answer on a couple of those, so
Hey, those were automatic wins for you. I gave it to you
Yeah.
Okay.
automatically.
okay.
Those were
Fair enough,
It was
gimmies.
fair
fair
enough,
to
fair
you.
enough.
That
What
being
do we got?
said,
I'm glad y'all liked it.
It was
Let's-
fun.
let's move on. We touched briefly about it in last week's discussion when we talked about comic book reboots. We mentioned comic book events. That will be the meat of our discussion. Comic book events, pros and cons, what our thoughts are on them. Let us know in the chat if you have any
I
thoughts
love
on
all this positive
events.
stuff for me. Thank you, guys. My ego needed a
I just
I'm glad
love.
y'all liked it.
Yeah. I got not one person saying that I won. So
Sergio feels left out, guys.
yeah,
His man ego hurts.
Sergio, we'll bring you into this. What are your thoughts on comic events?
I love comic events, man.
Okay, go on.
I'm gonna, you know what? Comic events. They're fun. They're needed. They can serve multiple purposes. You know. I'm a fan of DC's events in particular, man. I've loved what they've done over the years. I'm a big fan of like Forever Evil, you know, the Crisis events. Recently, you could probably even throw in Rebirth as a semi event. But yeah, man, some of my personal favorites of all time, like the ones I just mentioned. Yeah, Crisis is amazing. Forever Evil, I feel like it's not spoken about enough as one of the better events, just in general in comics.
Right.
I thought it was a lot of, I thought it was a lot of fun. Underrated. The art in that story arc was amazing, fantastic.
Events come on budget.
Events.
Yes, I think that's
You're
one
right.
of the cons.
i.e. the Hellfire Gala coming up. One night, 12 books that I don't already read.
So that's one of the things that we kind of wanted to get into, right, guys? Is, you know, sometimes with the events that you know, Marvel and DC, they've got like an overabundance of these tie-ins. Are they necessary? Right? Is it just another way to maybe hype up other books, boost those sales? Is it just a money grab? Because, you know, as collectors, you know, we love to have everything, right? If, like, we got Death Metal came out recently with DC, and there was like triple or quadruple the amount of tie-ins than the actual main storyline, right? Is it necessary? Is it not? I go back and forth depending on the story. Sometimes I feel like definitely they're just absolute fillers of issues. Don't serve the story little or at all.
I think part of the problem is it's kind of an annual thing, right? Every year there's some sort of event, and now it's taken to the point where sometimes, so say Marvel side of things, they've got Spider-Man stuff, they got Avengers stuff, and they got X-Men stuff, and each one of those groups has their own kind of separate like event going on or crossover going on. So like, you know, it was mentioned in the chat, King in Black, like that just I don't even know if it ended. Like
it did.
It did end?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it
so
did.
that just ended. But then before that, there was the whole, I'm going to butcher it. Hulkling and what Empire was it?
Just Empire. It's Empire.
What? Oh, yeah, Empire with the Y. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
There was Empire before that. And then, like, you know, a couple years ago, there was War of the Realms. It feels like it's a cyclical thing. And now the X-Men has their own stuff. They had 10 of Swords. Now they've got the Hellfire Gala. It does feel like at a certain point every year there's something new.
I agree, but I also gotta agree with Joey here. Like annual, quarterly.
Yeah,
it's like,
now it is. Yeah,
it's like every 2 to 3 months or something. And like you were saying with Marvel in this example, they've got they have the Marvel universe, but then they have the Spider-Man universe, the Avengers universe, the X-Men universe, and it's like, at what point like do the events lose their value? Because I agree, events have value in terms of, you know, if we use them for an actual big event, it is a big thing. It's a big change or something new and fun. I think if they actually did it annually or even semi-annually, and was for the entire universe or just one universe at a time, I would be more okay with them because they'd have value. Because I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is a new event. We haven't had one in a long time. I'm really curious to see what they do. But now it's just event after event, you know?
Yeah.
And
In particular with Marvel, I'm just constantly seeing advertised event after event after event, and it's got to be. I think it's overdone. I think it's overdone on their part. I'd like to see really because then they lose their meaning, right? There's no consequences. There's no
And I think at a certain point though, it's like when we think about events, some events just slip our minds because they were so just like they don't matter anymore to the canon of things. Like they or like the ending was so bad it just derailed so many characters. Like we'll talk about events here. Let's talk about there was Civil War, which had like all the tie-ins at the time. It brought in all the characters, but then it kind of ruined some characters. Like Tony Stark, his character was kind of ruined in Civil War.
Right,
but then,
he's always been an asshole. That's Tony Stark is a whole conversation of itself for me.
Yeah, but then like having him bring in the villains to his side and like try to kill Spider-Man, like
he's
so
an
much
asshole.
of that. So much of that, it just felt like they needed characters to just keep the story going, so they just changed whoever they needed, for that. But then we talk about Civil War, and a couple years ago there was Civil War 2. Now there's like sequels to these comic events, and like Civil War 2 is it's a dumpster fire, except for the art. The art is amazing. Like if you wanted just something nice to look at Civil War 2. Don't read any of it because it's just garbage. But I mean, at that point, we're like, I can't think of that many events where it was like, oh, that was actually good and that was worth it. Like I can't think of an event that I feel really good about when the when it ends.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the chat here that I wanted to mention because you guys are making really good points here about, people, Steve in the chat said he enjoyed summer events in comics. It was like a summer thing to happen. You expect it every summer. It sounds like that makes sense, right? Lots of talk here about Marvel needing a secondary imprint where things are affected by these events, kind of like DC as Black Label. People talking about Marvel Knights was kind of that for a while in the past, right? I mean, I agree with them. I think secondary imprints are genius for the big names like Marvel and DC, and that's what makes them interesting. Because if we didn't have any AUs or secondary imprints, I would get bored with canon. I mean, most of the stuff I read with DC right now, it's not even. I don't even like reading a lot of the canon stuff. Like I dropped the Batman canon and stuff, not because I'm trying to hate on Batman and that debate, but because it's not as interesting. I love the AU Batman stuff. I like the Black Label stuff.
But now we're even seeing it like what Joey just said. He was excited for a book, but now because the event's coming, he's going to drop it. Like at a certain point, we can't all financially afford all of these books for these events, right? With this specific instance, I would say I wouldn't drop Way of X if you actually like it as a story because of Hellfire Gala, because it's only going to affect one issue of Way of X. Only one. It's not like King of Black or other things where there's a lot of tie-ins and multiple issues that you're going to get screwed into reading, right? Hellfire Gala is one issue per X-Men line, basically, or maybe two. Maybe it is two. But again, I mean, Way of X is so good and it's so different for the X-Men stuff. I would still, if you like it at least, I would still pick it up. Or maybe just pause it for the Hellfire Gala issues and get back to it. But I also have a feeling that the Hellfire Gala issues are still going to tie into the overall plot with Nightcrawler and stuff. And he's going to have lots of thoughts on what's happening to Hellfire Gala and stuff. So if you're enjoying it, pick it up. But I also totally understand, like, it's too overwhelming. The events are ridiculous. You want to get 20,000 tie-ins. It's financially unstable. Again, coming from me, like I work retail. I don't have the money to afford $200 of books every week. It's just no. And even still, a lot of the stories when they end, they're just dissatisfying. I don't know. People in the chat, name off some of the events that are some of your favorites, because I can't think of any favorite events because people are talking about Crisis, and that's usually one most mentioned. And I think Crisis was so important. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it had such an impact because it was one of the first biggest crossover events for their universe, and it had an impact. Yeah.
Right? They didn't just do it and then say undo it. Kind of like Heroes Reborn is coming up for Marvel. what if the Avengers never existed? Well, you're just going to undo it by the end of the event. Why do I care?
Yeah.
You know, whereas Crisis, afterwards, you had to give a shit because, you know,
Well,
it
were,
changed everything at the time.
yeah,
It had an
they were
impact.
line-changing events. So,
and that's where events matter. That's when they should be done, is when they have a real impact. It actually is worth your time. But otherwise, it doesn't feel worth your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But,
what are you guys thinking? Like events should be held like every 5 years or something like that, or like
I mean, I would say
really,
2 years. If it's 2 years, that's a good enough time to actually have an impact on the actual. Like,
yeah, we've got Secret Invasion, like that one. We've got the first Infinity Gauntlet, solid. We've got.
I really liked Hickman's Secret Wars in terms of like an event. I really liked it, but that's the one that comes to mind like recently when I think of a Marvel event.
We got World War Hulk 1, or just World War Hulk, sorry.
Right.
Doomsday Clock. We've
Which
got the
isn't-
original.
yeah,
Civil War,
I get
and
about,
Blackest Night. I think, honestly, for Marvel, in terms of the overall universe, for the most part, I think the original Civil War is the last event I really liked that affected the overall universe. I mean, it didn't affect X-Men too much, but it's still related to them because the Superhero Registration Act spawned off of the Mutant Registration Act.
Yeah.
So it was all still connected, and it truly affected it because, like you said, you know, it brought out a lot of things and characters that we either didn't see before completely. And like, you know, Tony Stark really showed his ass completely in that line and solidified that he's a prick. And then you have Captain America Steve, you know, Steve Rogers, who really showed that he's not just a government playboy. He's not just a government, oh, look, I wear the flag and I serve America. No, he serves the people, and he's always done that. And all these other characters, and people died in that. Heroes killed each other. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
So
I think when it comes to some of those events, even if it's kind of like a dissatisfying story, I think I appreciate the event more if it actually had an impact. Like when I'm thinking about events, I think about Marvel's Axis, right? Axis, in terms of an event, it wasn't that great. But in the end, it ended up changing at least 3 characters in terms of, you know, it turned Tony Stark into superior Iron Man. It turned, who was it? Carnage good. And then there was, I forget who the third one was. Oh no, it was Sabretooth. I think it changed Sabretooth into good. And there was one more. But I mean, it actually had an impact for the world, right? Like characters actually ended up changing due to that event. So regardless of that, I think I could appreciate the event more if, you know, it does have some sort of impact later on, right?
yeah.
But we're just talking about the big 2 for this. Sergio, do you have any thoughts in terms of like, are there indie crossovers?
Man, you know, I was trying to like think about events in terms of indie comics and stuff, and I feel like they're it's harder, right? Because you don't with indie comics you don't have like these universes, right? That are kind of tied in together. The only recent one that I can think of, crossover, which is an ongoing, which is like an event title in itself, which I'm enjoying. Now, if anyone else in the audience can kind of come up with an indie event on the scale of something like the big 2, Spawn Universe. Yeah, so I heard about that. I'm excited, and they're like tying in a whole whack of issues, right? Which is exciting, man.
So what? Okay, so I've seen crossover talked about everywhere, right? I've seen it picked up, especially when it first came out. I have no idea what it's about to this day still. like I see it talked about, and I see people say pick it up, and nobody actually says what the world it's about when they talk about it. Like everybody just says pick it up.
Yeah, so the comic kind of world in this fictional universe, it collides with real life, right? Superheroes, supervillains, they appear all of a sudden in, I believe it's Denver, Colorado. They end up putting like isolating the event in the city, putting like a giant dome over and containing it. And so like the big tease when they were announcing this series was, you know, we're going to have all these different superhero like kind of characters cross over into this book. And if you go back to one of those panels, Steve, at the end of issue 1, there was the big tease before that with the child's drawing. Yeah. So there was some discussion right before the series was released, like who are we gonna get? Are we gonna get like DC characters or Marvel? Is it just gonna be limited to Image? And I mean, kind of makes sense that it wouldn't be like any of the big two characters. But seeing something like this, who are you guys thinking of, right? I got like crazy hype thinking, oh, somehow they managed to get the rights and include Superman into this story.
Yeah,
Didn't end up happening. And if you turn to the next, I think it might be the next panel. It ended up being this guy, like Madman, right?
See, so and I hear the whole like, oh, be cool, Superman could appear, but I kind of like what Joey's saying here, like. When I think of like independent indies doing a crossover, I would love to see kind of what he's talking about, like that crossover with Black Hammer and Hellboy or whatever those titles. Or like for me personally, I mean, Philadelphia and Spawn colliding together, those universes, that would be cool. Yeah. I mean, what other indie books could we cross over? Like, could those artists and writers get together, sit down, and say, we're gonna do a crossover? I mean, I think that would be so cool if they could pull it off. I wouldn't want it all the time and become overdone like Marvel especially does, and DC kind of overdoes a bit too. But I still think it would be cool, and it would have even more of an impact than just the big two. I mean, it could, depending on which indies cross over, it could actually outshine Marvel's recent event if they came out around the same time, because people go, oh my God, indie comics like this have never done this big of a crossover before. These franchises have never crossed over. It'd be so cool.
They did do that in this crossover series. They brought over the characters, the Paybacks, which was from the Dark Horse imprint, which I believe the Paybacks was written by Donny Cates as well. So they crossed over publishers there, and then the big reveal so far. And spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't read. Well, issue 4 came out well over a month ago. So the big kind of thing there is, and it's already been mentioned, Valofax, which is from Donny Cates' his big hit series. Yeah, right there. God Country.
That's the story of God Country.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So this was very cool to see.
Right. Okay.
It's probably like the first crossover title appearance that I was like actually hyped and excited to see. So that's pretty big. That's pretty cool that they've brought that over. Yeah. So it looks like the indie titles, indie publishers, they're trying to kind of get into the whole like event game and crossovers, like an example of what they're doing, right? And it's been okay. It's been okay. So if I'm having fun with it, looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, Joey's got it here. It sounds like a Donny Cates crossover event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's Donny Cates crossing over everything he's done, which is great. Far. If you like all the stuff he's done and you like him, but like, what if you're like me? You're not like, oh, I love Donny Cates. Of course, I'm gonna pick it up. Like,
yeah,
I want to see other crossovers, and I like what people are saying here. Steve in the chat had a good thing. I had a point I actually agree with as well. The biggest mistake is DC not teaming up with Marvel, like them not teaming up for like an annual crossover or something. I think that is a mistake. Like DC and Marvel are too busy playing competitor than actually helping each other out and rebuilding the comic book industry, like continuing to build it up, especially with their cinematic universes, drawing people into becoming interested into their actual comics because it's where they come from. Play it up, like help each other out, but they're too busy playing competitor. Like
I think they've become such like too like the competition has become like that. They're not gonna combine those universes again anytime soon. I don't think, right? I think the last Marvel DC event might have been like in the early 2000s or so, or late 90s. And it's too bad, man, because those were pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, we think about like Amalgam Comics when they even took the characters and melded them together. That was a cool concept too. But I mean, in terms of this discussion, I feel like a lot of times events are there's just cons mostly. Like it's just trying to get more money. It doesn't really affect the status quo of a lot of things. It pulls in books where like they could just be starting out, and it kind of ruins the flow of those books. So I don't know. In terms of events, I'm not really for them a whole lot. Except I will say, Hellfire Gala, I'm kind of stoked just to see their outfits.
But that's only because we're big on X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
man, Chris, you're right. Spidey and Nightwing
Yeah.
hanging out. Spider-Man, Peter Parker and Dick Grayson would be fun. Even Miles Morales and Dick Grayson would be fun. Like, hand it over.
so
right.
That
Lauren,
would be ultimate. Yeah.
Lauren, what are your final thoughts in terms of comic events?
I think there have been good events. I think they have a purpose when they're used correctly, but I think that purpose has been lost and they're overused. That said, I am excited for Hellfire Gala, but that's only because I want to see all my X-Men that I grew up with create chaos together. That's the only reason I care about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, events, they have a purpose. They can be good. Unfortunately, they're overused lately.
Yeah, I agree. Sergio, what are your final thoughts on comic events?
I like them. They're fun. Just way overused. I'd honestly like to see them even like less frequent than every other year. Something like every 5 years or so.
Right.
You know, tie into the whole, line wide and make it something significant and actually that's going to have like a lasting effect, right?
Right.
Yeah. Too much, too often.
I agree with that sentiment. This has been House of Nerds show discussion on comic events. Please let us know in the chats and on Twitter what your thoughts are on comic events. Do you like, dislike them? Yeah, sound off on that. Toronto Comic Book Club, the TO Comic Book Club, we're on the Discord and on Twitter. And as mentioned earlier in the show, this week we read Die Volume 3. It is one of my top 3 books. I love the Die series. Nothing more I can say other than it's fantastic. Go check it out. Also join us on Twitter at TO Comic Book Club and hit us up on the Discord. Join in every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for a discussion. Next week's discussion will be about Black Canary and Zatanna, Bloodspell, written by Paul Dini, and Joe Quinnan is the artist. Looking forward to this. It's been kind of on our list for a while, and it seems like it's a nice, fun adventure story. So come join us next Saturday for a discussion on Black Canary and Zatanna Bloodspell. That being said, final segment of the night of the morning, people.
Our favorite one.
Cop or drop. See, last week, for those that don't know and are just joining us now, I was able to convince Sergio to choose the book,
Cheater.
The Many Deaths of Leila Starr.
Yeah. And I'm thankful, very thankful.
We all ended up having to read it, and now we're just gonna dish on it. Like, Lauren, kick us off. What are your thoughts on Leila Starr?
Man, I mean, we all put it in our top picks for a reason. I mean, even if it wasn't Cop or Drop, I was personally going to pick it up myself. It's just so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, Ram V is just phenomenal. I mean, he's up there in terms of favorite writers with Tom Taylor for me right now. He's that enjoyable. All his stuff's good. I really enjoyed the humor in it. And I really enjoyed the art as well, obviously. The art is perfectly fitting for the themes of the book and the tone of it. And I really it's nice to see Ram V, because I haven't read his other indie stories yet. Like a lot of his other indies I haven't read yet, even though I've heard they're amazing and I believe it. I've mostly just read his like DC stuff and such, like Justice League Dark and Catwoman. It's nice to see him create his own world and own universe with his own characters. And he does a phenomenal job. I love Death. She is very well written as a character. I also in general just love Death personified as a woman. So it got my attention from the get-go before it even came out. And it's a lot of fun. Worth picking up. I think everybody should read it. It's only going to be a limited series of 5 issues. And I'm very excited for it. And honestly, if it did well enough, I'd like to see it go further than that. But limited series are like that for a reason with indies. So it's so good, though. So good.
Yeah. Sergio, what are your thoughts on The Many Deaths of Leila Starr?
I absolutely love this book. Pleasantly surprised. Steve, so first off, you got one, man. Finally, it's about time. Yeah, man. It's honestly, it's a beautiful book. I want to say that I am. I've heard of Ram V. Obviously, he's like one of the hottest writers out right now. But in all honesty, I haven't read any of his other work, so I wasn't familiar with his style. or anything, but this the writing, it's got almost a like poetic feel to it, man.
Yeah.
It just flows
Yeah.
very nicely. Every panel, all the dialogue, like not a word is wasted, man. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and the art is again is beautiful. Like you see like the different purple and blue hues. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing where Ramvi and this team take the book, man. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but it's just a beautiful book. Very much enjoyed this.
Yeah, I will say I was kind of surprised to find that it was a Boom Studios publishing book, just because
Mhm.
Yeah.
a
I
lot
keep
of
thinking
Boom
it's
Studios,
Image, but it's
yeah,
not.
a lot of
Yeah.
Boom Studios book they kind of target a lower demographic audience in terms of like teenagers or like early young adults or something of that nature. Like they really hone in on that teenager demographic. So seeing this book with the themes that it has, I was very surprised that it's Boom. But I mean, when you open the pages, you just know when you look at the coloring. Like Boom Studios, I don't know what they do. They're fantastic with their coloring. Like it just pops, right? You can pick up any Boom book, whether it's Fences or whatever, right? You're gonna
Mighty
have
Morphin Power
Mighty Morphin
Rangers.
Power Rangers. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna have shout out to Dragon Ranger in the chat. You're
Yeah.
going to have colorful artwork here. Like it's just so good when Boom Studios does a book. This book, I don't know why, but maybe it was the theme with death. It kind of reminded me of Day Tripper, the graphic novel. I think
Never read it.
no, you should
Not
check it out.
familiar. Yeah.
Check it out. It's a fantastic graphic novel. Basically, every chapter the main character ends up dying, but it also like he doesn't. Like it's a really really good story. But I think it's that motif of death and how it's used that really reminds me a lot of this book. Partly because so far, like I don't know if she's gonna die often in this series or not. What happens when death dies and all that kind of stuff. I really dig what the theme is of this book. And also it's like that fundamental question,
What,
like
Joe?
if you could go back in time, would you would you kill like a baby person who ends up being like a tyrant or something, right? Like death is dealing with that in her own kind of fashion of like this person is going to ruin my entire life, and effectively I'll no longer
Or lack of life.
or lack of life, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll no longer need to exist because of this person. Should I just take them out, right? I like that
Yeah.
theme, right? That
Yeah. I gotta say it's a must cop. You gotta pick this up. That's my vote.
yeah, absolutely, Sergio. I think it's a cop for you as well.
100%. Everybody needs to be reading this title. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr is a cop. for me.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And it's weird because I find not a whole lot. We all agree on the same book. The Many Deaths of Leila Starr.
It was a great choice, even though you cheated, Steve. Great choice.
Yeah.
House of Nerds Show says cop the Many Deaths of Leila Starr. There's only 5 issues. Give it a shot, right?
Yep. And so Steve, we gotta pick next week's book before we leave the show day, don't we?
We sure do. What have you got for me?
Yep. So those of you on Twitter that thought I would pick the book this week, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but Steve gets to pick. So I get another shot at trying to convince one of these two nerds to pick my pick. Sergio, do you want to go first?
Sure, because I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, guys, man. My picks. Oh, here. How do I?
Technical
Just
issue.
open the image.
You got to double click on it.
Yeah.
We
There
got a
go.
grandpa
Okay.
over here. Doesn't know how internet and technology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he struggles.
Shadow Man number 1.
Double click the image, Serge.
Did
Am
you,
I?
did you
is it
double
showing
click
it?
it? It's not.
Oh my
showing
God, Sergio, you're
Uh-oh.
embarrassing me.
Wait, hold on. Did you bring to the stream just the file explorer application and not the image application?
I'm not sure. Don't sweat it. We'll
You
figure
want
out.
me to go first? I can go first while you get your
Go
life
for it,
together.
go for it.
Sergio, double click the picture and then have that join the stream.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, guys.
All right.
So Lauren, yeah, hit us up.
So, Scout Comics, man, they're killing it lately. And let me tell you, they've got this fun #1 coming out next week called Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, which sounds utterly insane, but so much fun. It is literally a love letter to the Saturday morning cartoons of the 80s and 90s, just like our show is supposed to be. Like, what? Then you've got these galactic bounty hunters, Bash, Ripple, Mona Lisa, and their father figure, who is a gunslinging gecko named Gangon, find themselves on the run when a huge interstellar bounty is placed on their heads, facing everything from Viper snipers, armed armadas, and even a hulkling robo-shark. King Shark stands, come on in. We got something kind of close. Can the heroic crew of capybaras come together as a family before it's too late? I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. This sounds utterly insane and fun. It's something different. It's not the same horror that we always read. It's not the same superheroes we always read. It's different. It's going to be ridiculous. I think it's worth a shot.
Okay.
I mean, a character's name is Bash. That is straight up 90s.
This looks like a Guardians of the Galaxy style.
Kind of, yeah.
For sure. Okay, I don't know if I can figure out this whole screen sharing thing right now.
Sergio, you got it?
Sergio, I'll pull it up for you. You talk, I'll pull it up. I know what yours is.
So my pick of my Copper Drop pick, Shadow Man #1 from Valiant. They're returning to the Shadow Man universe. Cool story, cool looking covers. That's basically why I picked it. Yeah, there you go.
Cullen Bunn.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Damn it,
Cullen Bunn.
Sergio! You barely said anything, but he sees a name and he wants it.
Sorry, what's the book
Cullen
about?
Bunn is like the master of horror, man. You can't go wrong with any horror, Cullen Bunn horror title. So, yeah, that is my pick. You know.
Well, what's it about? What's the summary? Give me some juice for this.
It's got a cool cover.
You're doing amazing.
That's
Did you read the summary?
I did, but I'm just gonna sell the covers there for you, man. That's it. It's Cullen Bunn. It's got a neat cover. It's from Valiant. I don't think
if I lose to Sergio's pitch here, I might cry.
You don't know at all what it's about.
I'm not gonna get into it. Cullen Bunn, Shadow Man #1. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The chat. I'm sorry, Lauren, but the chat seems to be going off about Shadow Man and Cullen
You know
Bunn.
what? I didn't pick Robin #1 because I wanted to make it interesting, and Steve would have picked Robin #1. I went for the harder one. Sergio went for the easier one, and now I'm mad.
My man, listen.
Can I change mine to Robin #1 to win?
If you picked Robin #1, I totally would have picked it. Like, guaranteed, I would have.
I know. That's why I didn't. I wanted to make it more interesting.
You should have.
On my full list. It's right here, Robin #1. Okay, just for chat purposes, I'm not going to change my vote because that's not fair. But for chat purposes, chat, Shadow Man #1 or Robin #1. I'm interested to see what you guys would pick over each other because Robin #1 is going to be really big. Just for fun's sake. But I think Steve's made his pick, so.
Yeah. While we wait for the chat to decide.
You know, Al, I can't cry on camera, but you're right.
Shadow Man.
Yep, that one had that
they're still saying Shadow Man.
So, Steve, would you have betrayed the chat, or would you have gone with Shadow Man if it had been Robin?
If it was Robin, I'd go with Robin, guaranteed. But because it's
Shadow
not
Man's
Robin,
the winner. Yeah.
Because it's not Robin, I'm going with Shadow Man for our cop. I'm sorry, Lauren.
God, I have better pictures and I still lose.
Sergio had technical difficulties, and he still ended up with. He didn't even say what the book was about. He didn't even say what the book was about, and he still won.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my God. So,
but
yes.
Fair.
So, show up next week for episode 3, where we will discuss if Shadow Man is a copper drop. I guess, Lauren, right now you're hoping it's a drop. That being said, this is not the end of our show. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there's still one final thing we have to do.
Tiny.
Sergio, yes. What's going on?
Okay, so we had the giveaway earlier in the week. I think it was on Monday. The winner didn't claim the prize, so we're gonna do the giveaway live here on the show for you guys and everybody who's commented in the chats, which has been a whole bunch of you. Thank you guys for coming out again. Has got the bonus entry We're gonna do it, man. Let's get to it. Hopefully, I've got this.
You gotta share your screen
I've got this
again.
right.
There you go.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
All the names
So,
are in.
all the names are in. You can see everybody's in there.
What, Sergio? What are they winning? If they win this,
what are they winning? Good question. I don't know. No. What do we got here, guys? We got an it eats what feeds it. Volume 1 trade. All right. We've got a Philadelphia #1 first print.
Oh, gorgeous.
Right. One of my favorite titles. And this beautiful Adam Gorham variant, native to the Toronto area. The picture of everything else, which has been a beautiful period piece book. So some good titles there, and I'm hoping the winner will claim the prize this time. I'm hoping one of you guys in the chat wins it. So what I'm going to do is so everybody's in there. Everybody who entered previously is still included in the giveaway. I am going to shuffle the deck 3 times. That's 1, that's 2, and then that's 3. Okay, so the deck has been shuffled. I'm gonna hit the spin, and let's see who's gonna win this prize here.
Man, that's a big rainbow.
that is a big rainbow.
I can't even read it. You're gonna have to read it out loud to us.
That is Third Eye.
Congrats.
Third Eye. The Third Eye, it looks like. Or
Sweet.
yeah.
I don't know.
Do you want to spin it one more time just in case they don't claim their prize this time? Like have a backup?
Well, he's actually one of our Twitter followers, so
yeah.
That's good. I spun the wheel. Shout out to the Third Eye. Congratulations, man.
And if they end up not claiming it again, we're gonna come back next week and do this all again.
We'll do it. Yeah.
And let me tell you though, it's always great to get something from Serge. Yeah, it's always great to get stuff from Sergio because when he sends you comics, he packages them so great. He puts them in nice bags and boards. He takes great care of them, y'all. So
thank you, Lauren. I appreciate
it. Thank you to Sergio for doing that.
Yeah, anytime, man. We appreciate you guys coming out and showing support. Like, I think our YouTube's only been like publicly active for under 2 weeks, and we've crossed 50 followers, right? So I think we're like at 53 or 54 or something like that. So thank you guys, man. You're supporting us. We're feeling the love, and we appreciate every single one of you guys who made the chat live for us, man. Yeah. So I'll be shooting up, I think, the Third Eye in the DMs. Congratulations again, man. I'm going to get those out to you ASAP. And, House of Nerd swag. And if you guys are in the chats and you guys want some House of Nerd, coasters and stickers, and then let me know, man. I'll be more than happy to send you out
you can DM him privately or DM us on Twitter, and we'll make sure Sergio is the one that gets those out to you because he's the one that
for
has
sure,
them right
man.
now.
I'd
love to get those out to you guys.
Sergio, if they wanted to reach you for that nice swag, where can they find you online?
Absolutely. You guys know my Twitter handle, Insert Name Inc. My Instagram handle, Insert Name Comics. You guys are after any variants, exclusive comic books. More than happy to help you guys out to find those hard to find books. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate all the love, man.
Yeah, Lauren, where can they find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter at friendly MBHD, stands for neighborhood. Bye. I'm always on there. I post too much. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it together, but I have lots to say. But yeah, check us out. House of Nerd Show Twitter at the House Nerd Show. Check us out. We'll definitely be posting more polls after this. We're gonna put something up asking you guys for feedback on how you're liking the show so far. We've done 2 episodes. So we want to know what you guys think of things like how long the show is, the segments we're doing, all that cool stuff. Make sure that we're giving you guys stuff that you are, enjoying as well. But yeah, it's great to be here. I love starting Sundays like it, and I'm excited to keep it going.
Yep. Twitter at the House Nerd Show. You can find me on Twitter at StovePost, but don't even don't even worry about that. I've got opinions, but I'm a white man. Who cares? Follow at TO Comic Book Club. Join us on the Discord every weekend. We'll talk about a book, and all of us all have varying different opinions on stuff. If you like comic books, if you like graphic novels, and you want to talk about them with other people, join us at TO Comic Book Club. This has been episode 2 of the House of Nerds show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll hope you'll join us again next Sunday
Yep.
at 11 Eastern time.
Every Sunday, baby.
So we
We're
do this all
here.
again.
We're here.
Have a great week. We'll see you again.
Thank you, guys.